Hello everyone, good morning. So welcome back. Today we will try to complete it. Transcendental functions, I guess. Exponential function, logarithmic function. Still, we have yet to complete piecewise defined functions. Maybe I will complete that version next week. Okay. So for today's class, I'll try to concentrate on finding the domain and range. And whatever I have covered this week, that would be sufficient to attempt tomorrow's exam. Understood? So you don't have to worry about that. 100% whatever I have covered so far. Of course, this week I couldn't solve many questions actually because we had one holiday and I was not there for one day, but still you can solve the questions, right? And one more thing, please go through target on Akash material. Solve those questions as well as there are some objective questions, okay? Right. Domain, range. I'll just tell you very informal definition of domain and range, and then we'll go to the technical definition. Simply, domain means you think this one as input of any function. Clear my point? Domain means input of any function, and range is like output. That means if you substitute this input in any function, f of x, then you will get output. Understood? So it is something like this. Domain is x values, set of all values of x, where the given function is defined. That is called as domain. When I say this is my domain, it means that this is my boundary. Outside that boundary, I am not defined. Is it clear my point? That means when you are finding the domain of any function f of x, the meaning of this one is the set of values of x where this f of x is defined. That is called as domain. And range will be obviously f of x. I already told you. Domain means x. Range will be f of x. That is corresponding to these x values. For example, I have given you f of x equal to x plus 1. F of x equal to x plus 1. Now, and I said f is defined from a to b. Right? What is a here? Domain of the function. And I gave you a as 1, 2, 3. And I asked you to find the range. How do you find it? You will just substitute this domain in the given function. Understood? In fact, this is domain. Now, if I substitute x equal to 1, what will be f of 1? How to find f of 1? It is very simple. In f of x, you will just replace x by 1, right? So this will be 1 plus 1, which is equals to 2, right? And then similarly, x equal to 2, f of 2 equal to 2 plus 1, which is equal to 3, and x equal to 3, f of 3 equal to 3 plus 1, which is equals to 4. So definitely corresponding to this given, what is the range? 2, 3, 4. Understood? Hear my point? So this is just the basic definition, basic thing of understanding domain and range. Now, let us try to understand what are the rules for finding the domain of any function. What are the rules for finding the domain of any function? So I'll write it here. Rules for finding the domain of a function. And these rules are very, very important. Rules for finding the domain of a function. First one, and very important one, when the given function is under square root, understand, it is something like this. For example, if I have root f of x, anything, square root of anything, and we know that square root is defined only for positive values, right? So whenever you have square root of something, that something should always be greater than or equal to 0. This is the first rule you should. This is the first rule you should remember while determining the domain. Understood? So root f of x, which means that f of x is always greater than or equal to 0. In fact, that is all even powers. In fact, instead of writing it like this, f of x whole power 1 by 2m. What is 2m actually? It is an even number, right? Is it correct or not? Like 1 by 2, 1 by 4, 1 by 6. Not always square root. Even if you have fourth root, even if you have sixth root, even if you have eighth root, for all those cases, f of x must be always non-negative. You understood? So in this case, f of x is always greater than or equal to 0. But most of the times you will get square root of f of x now. I hope this is clear to everyone. So whenever you get square root of anything, that anything must be greater than or equal to 0 always. Then only this function will be defined. Because what is the meaning of domain? The set of values of x where the given expression is defined. So definitely root of f of x is defined only when f of x is greater than or equals to 0. Now after taking this restriction and if you solve this inequality, then you will get the values of x, isn't it? How will you solve the inequality? Using Wavy curve method. We already know it, right? So you will get an inequality. After solving this inequality, you will get the values of x, interval for x. That will give me the domain of the given function. Clear? Let me take one simple example. In this case, very simple example. I gave you that f of x equal to root of x plus 1. Now I want to find out the domain of this function. How do I do that? Just now I told you, when you have a root of anything, that anything should be greater than or equal to 0. Correct? That means here I have x plus 1. So definitely x plus 1 must be greater than or equal to 0. So now in this case, x is greater than or equal to minus 1. So that is x belongs to closed interval minus 1 to infinity. That is domain of the function root x plus 1 is minus 1 to infinity. That means only for these values of x, this function is meaningful. I repeat it, only for these values of x, this root of x plus 1 is meaningful. Which means only for these values of x, root of x plus 1 is defined. If you take any value outside of this value, this function will be undefined. If you want, you can check. If you take minus 2 value, which is less than minus 1, minus 2 plus 1 is how much? Minus 1. Square root of minus 1 is not defined. Because we are speaking about real valued functions. We are not speaking about complex numbers. Understood? So I hope you understood this rule very clearly. So whenever you have a root of anything, or fourth root, sixth root, or eventh root of anything, that function must be non-negative. Non-negative means greater than or equal to 0. Clear? Please copy this one very quickly. Okay. So this is rule number one in finding the domain of a function. Rule number two, when you have function in the denominator, for example, I will shall write it like this. If I have a combination of two functions, understand? Because function will not be easy always. It won't be a single function every time. He might give you more than two functions, or more than three, more than five. Like this. This is one function, this is another function. Or if I have multiplication of two functions. In these two cases, okay, in these two cases, domain will be given by, we find the domain of individual functions. Remember, df means domain of f. This is the symbol I use in this chapter, okay? The meaning of df is domain of f of x. Now, similarly, I'll find the domain of g, domain of g of x. Now, I'll find the domain of individual functions and I'll take the intersection of these two domains. See, here you'll get one domain, one x value, one interval. Here you'll get another interval for x. Now, if you take the intersection of these two, I'll get the complete answer. Understand? So, this is another rule, and please remember this. If you want to find out the domain of f of x plus or minus g of x, or f of x into g of x, the required domain will be the intersection of the individual domains. Clear? So, this is one thing. After explaining these rules, I'll explain your questions, then you will get more clarity. And the third one, when I have f of x by g of x, when I have f of x by g of x, even in this case also, I'll find domain of f as well as domain of g, and I'll take the intersection. And after getting this one, again I have to do one more thing. I have to subtract those values of x where g of x is not equal to 0. Because if g of x is equal to 0, this function is meaningless. You understand my point? First, I have to take the individual domains and I'll take the intersection. And after that, I have to subtract those values of x where g of x will become 0. Because if g of x is equals to 0, this function will be meaningless. Understood? So these are the basic rules we follow in evaluating the domain. And of course, yesterday I was telling you, when you have a logarithmic function, log f of x base g of x. For example, you are given with this type of function. Now, what will be the restrictions? And when you are evaluating the domain of any function, you have to look at each and every restriction possible. Clear? First thing is, I already told you yesterday, logarithm is defined only for positive values. It is not defined for 0 as well as negative values. So definitely this f of x must be greater than 0. Is it correct? F of x must be greater than 0. And there are two more restrictions on base. And base also cannot be less than 0. If you remember a, you can remember g of x as a, base. Base is either lying between 0 to 1 or greater than 1. Is it clear? So when you are evaluating the domain, you should keep these points in your mind. Rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3, and rule number 4. This is common. Right. Let us look at some simple examples for finding the domain. Fourth point. So, logarithmic function. Do you remember yesterday's class? Log x to the base n. I told you, logarithm is defined only for positive numbers, isn't it? So log of f of x. So definitely f of x should be greater than 0, always. Then only logarithm will be meaningful. Is it correct? So this is the first restriction. So f of x is always positive. And one more thing, we need to take two more restrictions on base. I already told you, base cannot be equal to 1 and it is always greater than 0. Which means that g of x is always lying between 0 to 1 or it is greater than 1. Understood? I hope this is clear now. Right? So f of x is always positive and base either lies between 0 to 1 or greater than 1. So for finding the range, there is no specific rule actually. Understand? Because finding range is not so easy. But of course, in this chapter we are going to look at only basic examples on finding the range. So I'll explain the range method in the problem itself.
One more doubt, sir. In first one, is f of x and g of x ranges are a number.
So in fourth point is f of x and g of x ranges or a number. Yeah, it is like depends on the given question. For example, okay, I'll show you one question, you will understand it clearly. Take down this question, you will understand very clearly. Domain of f of x equal to log x plus 3 base 2 by x square plus 3x plus 2. Vishal, look at this question. You said whether f of x and g of x are numbers or something. It depends on the question. Here f of x is a function, g of x is a number. Understand? So if the function is constant, we are least bothered about it. We just look at this one only. Now I already told you when you have division of two functions, what should I do? Find the domain of the numerator and denominator. X square plus 3x plus 2 is defined for all real numbers. So there is no square root, nothing, but it should not be equal to 0. I already told you, you have to look at every corner where the function is defined or where the function is undefined while evaluating the domain of the function. Understood? So can you tell me the first restriction here? Definitely logarithm is defined only for positive numbers. So x plus 3 is greater than 0. And one more thing, since it is in the denominator, definitely this quadratic expression cannot be equal to 0. If you take the intersection of these two, that will be the domain. Do you have any other restriction? That's it. Only for under these two conditions, this function is defined perfectly. Is it correct? So this is x greater than minus 3. And can I factorize this one as x plus 1 into x plus 2? And it is not equal to 0, which means that x cannot be equal to minus 2 and minus 1. Correct? Now how do you take the intersection of these two? Simple. Draw the real number line. Minus 3, minus 2, minus 1. I said x greater than minus 3. Here it is a bubble. But in between, I should not get x equal to minus 2 and x equal to minus 1. That means at minus 2, I should put a bubble. There is a break. Is it clear? And similarly, at minus 1, I should put a bubble. Are you following this or not? In fact, more precisely, let me put the bubble here. And similarly, let me put the bubble here. Is it clear? Greater than minus 3, but in that process, we have to break the x value at minus 2 and at minus 1. Because x cannot be equal to minus 2 and x cannot be equal to minus 1. That means greater than minus 3. Up to here, no problem. But at minus 2 I should stop because I should not take minus 2. And again minus 2 to minus 1. Again at minus 1 I should stop. And again after minus 1 I can go up to infinity. Are you getting it or not? Now can you tell me the answer finally? Therefore x belongs to open interval minus 3 to minus 2. Union minus 2 to minus 1. Union minus 1 to infinity. So this is the required domain of the given function. Understood? So this is the required domain of the given function. Understood? So that is the meaning of this one is only in these intervals. Only in this interval this function is meaningful. If you take any value outside of this domain, this function will be not defined. Understood? If you have any confusion, please let me know. Please copy very quickly. We'll move to another question. Explain number line once again. Dinkar. Okay. Observe. This is real number line, right? Okay, Dinkar, I'll explain it here for you. The same thing. Minus infinity plus infinity. Minus 3, minus 2, minus 1. Okay. The head directly greater than minus 3. Understood? This total region. But x cannot be equal to minus 2 and minus 1. So I can take all these values actually. All these values. All the values of x greater than minus 3. But in between minus 2 is there, so I should put bubble over there. Dinkar, are you listening? And similarly at minus 1, I should put bubble because x should not be equal to minus 1. Therefore, I'll take all the values between minus 3 to minus 2. And since x cannot be equal to minus 2, I should not take minus 2. Again, minus 2 to minus 1. And since I should not take minus 1, again I'll put bubble at minus 1. And after minus 1, up to infinity. Understood? Dinkar? Very simple. Okay, good. Let us take one more simple question. Please try to copy very quickly so that I can tell you more questions. Number thing, we are just solving the very basic questions on domain and range. There are very big questions in domain and range. Next week, I'll try to explain advanced level questions. But for tomorrow's exam, you'll get the same type of questions, not worry. 100%. Copy it. If possible, try to take the screenshot. It saves your time. Right. One more simple question. Now you tell me the answer. Again, domain of the function defined by f of x equal to x square plus 2x plus 1 by x square minus x minus 6. What is the answer? X square plus 2x plus 1 by x square minus x minus 6. just now I told you, when you have division of two functions, f of x by g of x, in the numerator there is no restriction because x square plus 2x plus 1, it is a polynomial. And remember, domain of polynomial is all real numbers. Domain is defined for all real numbers. I'll just write down a note here. Domain of a polynomial is all real numbers, and similarly, range of a polynomial is also all real numbers. Okay, general polynomial. Now, but when you take quadratic polynomial, range is not all real numbers. Sorry, range is not all real numbers. Okay, I'll tell you later. So what is the domain of this one? Simply x square minus x minus x. Sorry, x square minus x not equal to 0. Correct? So you factorize this one. X minus 3 into x plus 2, because minus 3 plus 2, which is not equal to 0. So x cannot be equal to minus 2 and 3. That means except these two values, I can take all real numbers, isn't it? So can I write domain as x belongs to all real numbers except minus 2 comma 3. Correct? So this is the domain. R means all real numbers. Okay, rotate. Don't go to confuse. The exponent rotate. Okay. Because numerator there is no restriction, right? It is defined for all numbers, so you don't have to take it. When you have square root or something, then you have to take restriction. Right. Let us try to look at solving range of a function. I already told you, depending on the question, you have to find the range. Range of f of x equal to 3 by 2 minus x square. Range of, see, I already told you, range means I have to find the f of x values. In fact, range means minimum value and maximum value, isn't it? Interval consisting of minimum value and maximum value. When I ask you to find the range of f of x, it means that you should be able to find the minimum value of f of x and maximum value of f of x. Understood? Is it clear? First point, range means minimum value, maximum value. Maybe it is closed interval or open interval, whatever it is. But there is one more thing. All functions do not have both minimum value and maximum value. All functions do not have both minimum value and maximum value. Clear? Some functions will have only minimum value. Some functions will have only maximum value. Okay, before solving this question, I'll tell you. Let me take one simple example here. F of x equal to x square plus 1. I want to find out the range of this function. So how to find the range of this one? X square plus 1. That means I have to find out the value of x square plus 1. Domain means only the value of x. Range means the value of total function. That's now I told you. Domain means x values. Range means set of all images, that is f of x. Do you remember that point? So that means I have to find out the values of f of x. And note out what is the domain of this one? All real numbers. Because this is a polynomial, it is defined for all real numbers, right? Is it correct? You find any value of x where it is not defined x square plus 1. If you input any real number, it always gives some output. That is the meaning of domain. If you give any input, the function should generate some output, some real output. Then we can consider that the value of x as domain. Clear my point? So this x square plus 1 domain is always all real numbers. Now what about range? For finding the range, start with x square. Because we know that x square is always greater than or equal to 0. For all x belongs to R. Is it correct or not? If you input any value of x, I already told you, square of any number is always non-negative. Now I need x square plus 1. So what I'll do, I'll generate this function by adding 1 both sides. X square plus 1 greater than or equal to 0 plus 1. Can I? I can add any number or subtract any number to any equivalent. Now what is x square plus 1 now? F of x, which is greater than or equal to 1. So what is the meaning of this one? You understood this one? I have just added 1. Why? I need to get x square plus 1. So it is like known function to unknown function. I know the range of x square. By using the range of x square, I am trying to get x square plus 1 range. By just adding 1 to x square greater than or equal to 0. So x square plus 1 is f of x. And f of x is always greater than or equal to 1. So which means that f of x belongs to closed interval 1 to infinity. What is the meaning of this one? Range of f of x is closed 1 to infinity. I think you got some idea. That means f of x has only minimum value. Maximum value I do not know somewhere. Because it is unbounded function, I tell you that what is the meaning of bounded and unbounded function. Understand? So we need more time to understand that. So f of x belongs to closed interval 1 to infinity. So we have only minimum value because I do not know what is the maximum value. Because f of x is always greater than or equal to 1 and up to infinity. Clear my point? That's why I told you here. All functions do not have both maximum value and minimum value. Understood? So this is one point. Now let us come to our problem. And of course, I'll tell you one more thing. Domain and range. Finding domain and range is not so easy and at the same time not so difficult. So what I'm trying to tell you is it won't happen in one day. You need practice. Clear? And of course, I have to tell you so many models. We have just started. Okay, these are very simple questions. Now I'll try to find out the range of f of x equal to 3 by 2 minus x square. 3 by 2 minus x square. Now for finding the range of this one, again you can start with x square. X square is always greater than or equal to 0. But instead what I'll do is, let y equal to 3 by 2 minus x square. I'm assuming y as f of x as y. Now what I need to find now? I have to find out the intervals for y. Because y is my given function. So if I find the interval for y, I got the range. Is it correct or not? So now from this one, what I'll do is, I'll write x in terms of y. Whenever you get a, what is this actually? It is a rational function, right? 3 by 2 minus x square. Simple rational function. What is the definition of rational function? Polynomial by polynomial. Numerator is a constant polynomial. Denominator is a quadratic polynomial. So definitely it is a rational function. Is it correct? So this is a simple rational function. Correct? Now, from this one, I'll write it as 2 minus x square equal to 3 by y. Right? Now from this one, can I write this one as 2 minus 3 by y equal to x square? Minus x square to the right side, 3 by y to the left side. Now from this one, x square equal to, if I take LCM y, what will I get? 2y minus 3. Now what is the advantage of this one? This is one method of writing x in terms of y by assuming given function as y. Understood? Advantage is x square equal to 2y minus 3 by y. And we know that x square is always greater than or equal to 0. Just now I told you. So if x square is greater than or equal to 0, definitely 2y minus 3 by y is also greater than or equal to 0. Why? Because x square equal to 2y minus 3 by y. Can I replace x square by 2y minus 3 by y? Now see, I have generated an inequality in terms of y. Why I have generated an inequality in terms of y? Because I have to find out the interval for y. That is my range. Understood? Now if you are given any inequality in terms of x or y, you know how to find the solution set of this inequality. Wavy curve method. In place of x, we have y, that's it. Understood? So using wavy curve method, what are the 0? And locate these numbers on the real number line. 0, 3 by 2. And we know that this is plus, minus, plus. And we are searching for greater than or equal to 0. This one and this one. Is it correct? And since, therefore, answer will be y belongs to less than 0. Minus infinity to 0 closed or open? Open because it is in the denominator. Do you remember Wavy curve method? Union 3 by 2 closed to infinity. Understood? So this is the range of this function because y is nothing but f of x, right? So 3 by 2 minus x square lies between minus infinity to 0 or 3 by 2 to infinity. That is the meaning of this one. I hope this is clear to everyone. Once again, I'll explain this. Y equal to 3 by 2 minus x square. And after this, what I'm doing is, I'm writing x in terms of y. So 2 minus x square equal to 3 by y. And from this one, I have written x square equal to 2y minus 3 by y. And we know that x square is always greater than or equal to 0 for all x belongs to R. Is it correct? So definitely, since x square is greater than or equal to 0, 2y minus 3 by y is also greater than or equal to 0. Now using wavy curve method, I am just solving this inequality. And from here, you know how to solve it. Correct? So this is the range of given function. Please call. One question. Please call. After this question, this one, important. Did you get any assignment for this week? For tomorrow's exam? In WhatsApp? That's it. I guess you have received some assignments for this weekend. So I instruct all the students to go through the assignments. Okay. And if you have any doubts in that paper, please text me in WhatsApp. I'll definitely send you the solutions. Okay. So if you face any difficulty while solving the questions. Okay, look at this last question for today. We have to find the domain of f of x equal to root of x minus root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, right. I said we have to look at every corner while evaluating the domain of the function. So I said if you have square root of anything, square root of something, some function, definitely this function is always greater than or equals to 0, right? So this total thing is like f of x. And this function is meaningful only if x minus root of 1 minus x square is greater than or equal to 0. Is it correct? Now, is it the ultimate restriction or do we have any other restriction? Yes, we have. We have another square root. We have to look at each and every restriction. First thing is x minus root of 1 minus x square is greater than or equal to 0. And similarly, root of 1 minus x square is there. And root of 1 minus x square is defined only when 1 minus x square is greater than or equal to 0. Feel it. Is it correct? Even if you have n number of square roots, we should follow the same thing. For example, if you have another square root, again you have to take that expression as greater than or equal to 0. I hope this is clear to everyone, right? So x minus root of 1 minus x square greater than or equal to 0, as well as 1 minus x square greater than or equals to 0. Understood? Now if you solve these two inequalities, you will get the domain. So how to solve these two inequalities? First, observe this one. Can I write this one as x greater than or equal to root of 1 minus x square? And anyway, root of 1 minus x square is positive number. Isn't it? Square root of anything. And x is greater than or equal to positive number means x is also positive. These two are positive numbers. When you have inequality of positive numbers, even if you square that inequality, inequality does not change. Did you understand anything? For example, when I have 2 greater than or equal to 1, this is correct. Both are positive numbers. And when I square this inequality, still the inequality will be maintained. That's what I was trying to tell you. Is it correct? Since here x and root of 1 minus x square both are positive numbers, I can do squaring on both sides for this inequality. That's what I was trying to tell you. Correct? X square greater than or equal to 1 minus x square. Now, can I write this one as x square minus 1 plus x square greater than or equal to 0. So this is 2x square minus 1 greater than or equal to 0. So can I write this one as root x plus 1 into root 2x plus 1 into root 2x minus 1 greater than or equal to 0. If I am not wrong. Like a plus b into a minus b. Now you know how to solve this inequality. Waving curve method again. What are the roots? Minus 1 by root 2 plus 1 by root 2. This is plus minus plus greater than or equal to 0. That means this region and this region. Therefore, x belongs to minus infinity comma minus 1 by root 2 union 1 by root 2 to infinity. Correct? This is one thing. And we have one more restriction here. 1 minus x square greater than or equal to 0. I will multiply both sides with minus. I will get x square minus 1 less than or equal to 0. Now again I can write this one as x plus 1 into x minus 1 less than or equal to 0. Again waving curve method. Minus 1, 1 plus minus plus less than or equal to 0 means this region. Therefore, x belongs to minus 1 to 1. Now if you take the intersection of these two, you will get the answer. So quickly, let me take the intersection of those two inequalities, I will get the answer. And then I close. Therefore, how to take the intersection minus 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2, 1. Correct? First one, minus infinity to minus 1 by root 2. That means this one. And next one, minus 1 to 1. So what is the common region? X belongs to minus 1 to minus 1 by root 2 union. And we have one more thing, 1 by root 2 to infinity. Is it correct? And what is the common region? This one. So this will be 1 by root 2 to 1. So this is the answer. This is the domain. Understood? So I'll stop it for today. And if you have any doubts in finding domain and range, please text me on WhatsApp. I will be more happy to help you. Thank you. I'll see you on Monday.
students. So in yesterday's class, I explained about the stomach. In stomach, we can find some regions like cardiac stomach, fundic, corpus, and pyloric stomach. The pyloric stomach is the posterior part of stomach. Cardiac stomach is anterior region. Fundus, it is the elevated part of stomach. There, if we see the structure of stomach like this, this is cardiac. This region is fundic stomach. This is the corpus. This region is pyloric. The pyloric stomach will become narrow. It appears like a groove, where it appears like a funnel also. And this area is also called as antrum. Antrum. So from here, the food will move into small intestine just under the control of one sphincter. That sphincter is pyloric sphincter. Here, from the main function of cardiac sphincter is to prevent the upward movement of food from the stomach into esophagus. In our body, all the internal organs will show peristaltic movements. The peristaltic movements are very involuntary. So when we see the peristaltic movements, the movements will start from, it may be in any organ, it may be related to digestive system or it may be related to ureters. But that movements will start from anterior tip, ends in posterior tip. In the sense, you have to understand here that peristaltic movement of alimentary canal will start right from esophagus, like a wave. That movement will move through the stomach, small intestine, large intestine. So that's why the food must move in only one direction. So the opposite movement of food is prevented, not only by peristaltic movements, but also by the presence of sphincters. So when we see the storage of food, when the food is stored in stomach, in the sense what? That upper anterior, that cardiac sphincter, at the same time, the posterior pyloric sphincter, both must close that openings. Then only the stomach can store. I told you, the stomach helps in storing the food partially for time being. At the same time, partial digestion will also occur. What type of digestion? In the beginning of digestive system, I said in our body there are two mechanisms of digestion. One is mechanical digestion and the second one is chemical digestion. Both takes place in stomach. In buccal cavity, the mechanical digestion is with the help of teeth. We can understand we are crushing the food. That is nothing but mechanical conversion. But in the stomach, no teeth. We don't have teeth in stomach. But how that mechanical digestion takes place? That is just due to vigorous movements. I think everyone observed the movement of food materials inside the mixie. You will close the lid. You will keep the lid on the mixie. If you switch on, how the blades will rotate and how the blades will cut the food particles. Like that, we can call that movements as churning movements. Can you understand how to extract the butter from curd? Churning. There will be some devices will be there. So if you turn that device, that is nothing but churner. So that churning movements we can see. Vigorously, the muscles present in the stomach will contract and relax. The peristaltic movements in stomach will be more energetic and vigorous. Due to that, the complete food particles will be churned. So at that time, mechanical conversion takes place. Large particles will become small particles, right? So along with gastric juice, that size of the food particles will be mechanically converted into smaller. So that's why we can say in stomach both the types of digestions takes place. Okay. So when the food is turned, at that time there is chance for opposite movement of food. If it takes place, we have to vomit every time because digestion will be continuously happening in the stomach. So that is not happening. That is due to that closure of the opening between the esophagus and stomach with the help of cardiac sphincter. So what is the main function of cardiac sphincter? To prevent the upward movement of food from stomach into esophagus. And yesterday I said this curvature is called as lesser curvature. This curvature is called as greater curvature. Which is the lesser curvature is in which shape? Concave. The greater curvature is convex. Okay. And this stomach shows rugae. What is the meaning of rugae? The internal surface of that stomach is folded just like fingers. So these are called as gastric rugae. When I explained about pellet, the roof of buccal cavity, there also I said some foldings will be there. That's why the surface will be very rough. You can feel that roughness with your finger. Wash your hands properly and touch that roof of the buccal cavity. You can feel the rough surface. Okay, that is due to foldings. That foldings are called as rugae, but they are palatine rugae. These are gastric rugae. Why we are using gastric now and then for the stomach? The another name for stomach is gaster. Okay, gaster. That's why the juice which is produced by the stomach wall is gastric juice. Whatever the problems related to stomach, gastric problems. Right? So, right. Now, after partial digestion in the stomach, the food must move into the next organ called small intestine. Small intestine. So, the small intestine, the name will confuse us. You know one thing, the small intestine is very lengthy, very big, 3 meters in length. So if that is 3 meters in length, why should we call that as small? That confusion will come to the students. That is due to the diameter. So 3 meters length irutte, but the diameter, the diameter of the tube is narrow when compared to large intestine. Large intestine will be very broader. That small intestine will be very narrow. So here, that small intestine starts from this region. From where? Pyloric sphincter. From there, immediately you can see one U-shaped tube. U-shaped tube. That is just like a loop. We call that as duodenum. Duodenum. Duodenum is very important region of alimentary canal. Why you know? This duodenum will receive 2 different types of juices. And the 2 different types of juices will mix with the food in duodenum. One is bile juice and the one is pancreatic juice. Now, if the 2 juices are coming and mixing with the food in duodenum, that 2 glands must be very close to this organ. Where they are present, we can find liver here. Where? Here. Here means where? That is towards the right side to the stomach. You understand? So, stomach is present in left side of the abdominal cavity, just below the diaphragm. Yesterday we discussed. Now, right side to the stomach, liver is present. For your information, I am telling you this liver is the largest gland in our body. Okay, it weighs around 1.5 kg, 1.5 kg of weight, right? So that is the largest gland in our body. Unfortunately, in that juice which is produced by the liver, which is the juice, bile juice, there is no enzymes to digest the food, but simply that will come there. Liver is also called as metabolic mill. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ in our body so many metabolic activities are happening because we are living. In the living organisms we can find metabolic activities in the living world. The topics came, right? It will come, I will discuss again. So when metabolic activities are happening, then we can say we are alive. Okay, so for every metabolic activity some enzymes, at the same time some controlling points. This liver will control many metabolic activities in the body. For example, this if you take food, in the food if any toxic substances are present, this will neutralize, this will detoxify that toxic substances, liver. Not only that, this will keep the body temperature even in all the regions. I will ask you one question. when we can when we can generate heat, we can generate heat with our metabolic activities. If the metabolic activity is more heat will be released. Okay, I will run for 1 kilometer. If I run for 1 kilometer, cells will contract and relax very fast. At that time, I must find more heat in my thigh. It is not happening. Throughout my body, temperature will be common. So that liver will distribute the temperature from the generating site to all other parts. That's why we can find the same temperature throughout our body. Right? That's why liver will distribute the temperature. It will keep the temperature even, same in all the parts. But generating of heat will be different in different regions of the body. But it will be distributed. Right? When we get any injury, at that time blood will oozes out. Within 5 minutes, that bleeding will stop due to clotting mechanism, blood coagulation mechanism. For that blood coagulation, for that blood clotting, liver will play a role. There are some factors which help in blood clotting mechanism. That factors are produced by liver. I will tell you another interesting thing. If the blood is present inside our blood vessels, it must be in fluid state. It must be in liquid state. Then only the heart can pump the blood. That blood will circulate inside the body. To keep the blood in liquid state, we have one anticoagulant. Anticoagulant. So that anticoagulant is also produced by liver. That is interesting point. What to blood clot? For blood clotting, this will help. For keeping the blood in liquid state, the same organ is helping. And whenever you take the food, we can find iron in that food. If you take greeny leaves, iron will be more. That iron will be extracted and it can send that iron to bone marrow for hemoglobin synthesis, hemopoietic organ. So like this, there are so many activities for functions for liver. That's why this is called as metabolic mill of the body. Okay, but here we are talking about digestive system. For that digestive system, this will send one bile juice into the duodenum. But what I said just now, that bile juice lacks or which is absent in bile juice? Enzymes. So there is no enzyme which acts on the food directly. But we have to study about bile juice. There is some importance, I will tell you. So at the same time, on another side of this abdominal cavity, we can find pancreas. This pancreas is just like a leaf. So this is just below the stomach. This pancreas will send pancreatic juice into the duodenum. Unlike bile juice, pancreatic juice has more number of enzymes. So that is very important for digestion. Which is very important for digestion? By pancreatic juice secreted by pancreas. So this pancreas is having one interesting character. It acts as both exocrine and endocrine. In our body, the mixed gland is pancreas. Initially, when I explained about epithelial tissue, I explained that depending upon the role, epithelial tissue is divided into two types. One is glandular epithelium, covering and lining epithelium. Glandular epithelium nalli, there are two types of glands in our body, endocrine, exocrine. Endocrine glands will produce hormones, exocrine glands will produce enzymes, but this pancreas will produce both. That's why we call that as mixed gland. Now, namageen bekili hormones beda. For digestion, we need enzymes. So we have to focus only on exocrine part of pancreas in digestive system. In first PUC, again, in the last phase, the last chapter, that is chemical coordination, we have to focus on endocrine part of pancreas. Okay, we have insulin, we have glucagon to control the sugar levels in the plasma. That is produced by this endocrine part of pancreas. Okay, exocrine part in the enen barutte, that will come in associated glands. Right. So these two, which will mix with food in duodenum. Okay, duodenum is just like a U-shaped structure. You forget about that. Okay, the process of digestion will be continued from here. Duodenum agmele jejunum. Okay, this jejunum is a short region between duodenum and ileum. So small intestine is divided into three regions. Duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Ileum spelling I-L-E-U-M. I-L-E-U-M. If you write I-L-I-U-M, that is one bone. That is a bone. In skeletal system, it will come. So I-L-E-U-M, ileum. This is the last part of small intestine, but it is the lengthiest part of small intestine. I told you 3 meters length irutte, but in that 3 meters, this ileum itself is 2 meters. So the lengthiest part of alimentary canal is ileum. If in the options ileum illa, small intestine ide, you have to go for that. I think you can understand. So in that small intestine, ileum. Okay, ileum is the main part for completion of the process of digestion and absorption. That's why 2 meters length irutte. If we measure our own body, complete the length height of the body, it will be lesser than that. No, that's why we can see that ileum in so many folded conditions. Okay, so many foldings will be there in that ileum, highly folded, highly convoluted. That's why this ileum can be accommodated in the abdominal cavity. Okay, with so many foldings. Foldings, if you see small intestine, if it is like this, again inside the inner surface of the small intestine is having some finger-like foldings. So what is the use of this finger-like foldings? It will increase the surface area for absorption. So these foldings are called as villi. Okay, biologically, not only in small intestine, if we find finger-like foldings, we can call them as villi. Okay, each one is called as villus. If you take one villus, this is the villus, this is the folding. Illi enirutte, food irutte. The food will be passing here. Okay, so this is the inner surface of the small intestine. Inside the villus, what will be there? Blood vessel. Just now, you responded, this villus will help in absorption. It will increase the surface area. Means from this lumen means cavity, this cavity. When the food is moving, if the digested food is moving there, simplest forms, that must enter into the wall of the small intestine. nothing but villi. Illi ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು after digestion, the simplest form of food particles must enter into the blood, because blood is a medium to transport that nutrients to every part of the body. Okay, that's why blood vessel ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಿಲ್ವಾ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ blood vessel ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Why the blood vessel is present inside the villus? To receive the digested food. So this entry of digested food into this blood vessel is called as absorption. Okay, this blood vessel is there, but it will receive only two types of digested foods, which is the simplest form of proteins, amino acids. Amino acids will enter here. Which is the simplest form of carbohydrates, monosaccharides. Monosaccharides will enter. But one substance will not enter. It will agitate. Nan baralla blood vessel already. Which is that fatty acids and glycerol. So to collect that fatty acids, and they are very tough, fatty acids and glycerol, they will not dissolve in the water also. Right? Fat, silver, oil. So that's why they will be here only. To take them, to receive them, to request them, one more vessel will be there. That vessel is nothing but lymph vessel. Lymph vessel. I said about lymph. That is similar to blood. Okay, that is a product of blood only. So that lymph vessel is here. So that in that three types of digested food, two will enter into the blood vessel, one will enter into lymph vessel. So the lymph vessel ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ? What that lymph vessel will do? It will take that fats. It will convince. ಅಪ್ಪ ನಮ್ಮ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ವೆಸಲ್ ಅಪ್ಪ ನೀವು ಯಾಕೆ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬನ್ರಿ ನಾನು ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. So that lymph vessel will take that fatty acids and glycerol. It will go and mix with blood vessel only. It happens later. So indirectly the fatty acids will enter into the blood vessel. But these monosaccharides and amino acids directly they will enter into the blood vessel. Fatty acids will enter into the blood indirectly. Means what is the way? Via lymph vessel. Okay, that's why in the villus you can find blood vessel, lymph vessel, and also obviously nerve. Nerve irutte because sense irbekiಲ್ವಾ. So if you see this villus, on the surface of this villus again we can find foldings. Still, to increase the surface area further, that each villus is again divided into, that is folded into finger-like structures. They are called as microvilli. Already we are talking about villus. To that villus again villi is there. That's why microvilli. Okay, so that's why we can see brush-like surface. Brush-like surface andre brush mele bristles irutte ilva, like that it appears. Okay, so throughout the length of ileum, jejunum nalli iralla villi, duodenum nalli villi iralla, elli irutte ileum nalli matra irutte. That's why the absorption must be completed in ileum. Okay, so finally if that small intestine ends here, for example, if this is the ending point of small intestine, listen. If this is the ending point of small intestine, here one more structure you can find, large intestine. Where it will enter? This small intestine will be continued as large intestine, no? So this is the large intestine. You see the width, this is broader than this. That's why this is small, this is large. So this area where small intestine joins with large intestine is called as cecum. This is called as cecum. Andre, how I explained about duodenum, that is the first part of small intestine. Now cecum is the first part of large intestine. In some animals, this will store bacteria. So that will be just like a shelter to bacteria. ಯಾಕೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ಬೇಕು, ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಡ. Even in our elementary canal, E. coli ಇರುತ್ತೆ, Escherichia coli bacteria. Okay, some symbiotic bacteria. Some animals, I will tell you. Yesterday I said about the cow rumination. So in such animals, have you seen cow feeding on papers, newspapers, wall posters? Sometimes the cow will be feeding on that. they will digest cellulose. We cannot digest cellulose. If we are able to digest cellulose, we can eat. Why we can you digest? No. Up to some extent, character, I understood. So, we cannot take the improperly cooked food. We can take, but we cannot digest. Right? So, why we are cooking that food softly? That purpose of cooking is softening the cellulose only. Right? Why we are not having one enzyme cellulase. Cellulase enzyme ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಲ್ಯುಲೇಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತಿನ್ಬೋದು. ಏನೇನು ತಿನ್ಬೋದು? ಎಲ್ಲ ಗ್ರಾಸ್, ವೆಜಿಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ರಾ. ಗ್ಯಾಸೇ ಬೇಡ. ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಏನು ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ the raw vegetables, stems, bark, everything. But we are unable to. I will tell you, in animal kingdom, no animal can produce cellulase. But now you will get one doubt, how the cow is digesting. The cow, that's why they are depending upon bacteria. Why they are giving shelter to bacteria in the cecum? Upon you already, no rent, free. But ನೀವು ಏನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ನನಗೆ? ಸೆಲ್ಯುಲೇಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ದ ಕೌ ಅಂಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ. ಅದಾಯ್ತಾ? ಯಾವ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ನನಗೆ ಏನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಿ? ನೀವು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಶೆಲ್ಟರ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀನಿಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಶೆಲ್ಟರ್, ಬಟ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ cellulase for us. Okay, that is a mutual understanding between the bacterium and the ruminants. That's why we call that bacteria as symbiotic bacteria. No loss for anyone. Both are benefited. That is called as symbiosis. Okay, living together, right? But in our body, we are not having that bacteria. If we have that bacteria, we will avail that cellulase from the bacteria. So such bacteria are not present in our body. To this cecum in our body, we can find one finger-like projection. What is that? Appendix. That is just like a worm. Worm. Earthworm. Right? Okay. Ula. Correct? Worm. Like that. That's why we call it as vermiform appendix. What is the role of vermiform appendix? No role in our body. That's why we call it as vestigial organ. Okay. The projection of the finger-like projection of cecum in human body is called as vermiform appendix. Sometimes this will collect the stone particles, and if it is filled with stones, appendicitis, removal of appendix, it takes place, right? And continuation of this cecum. The next part, already we started small intestine. You know, the diameter of small intestine is 2.5 cm. Okay, the diameter of large intestine, the diameter of large intestine is 6.5 cm, 6.5 centimeter. That's why it will be very broader. Nearly 3 times the broadness of small intestine. That's why it is called as large intestine. So, which is the first part? Cecum. C-A-E-C-U-M. Okay, cecum. The second part is colon. Third part is rectum. Okay. So, small intestine is divided into 3 regions. Large intestine is also divided into 3 regions. Continuously, if we see duodenum, jejunum, ileum, cecum, colon, rectum, small intestine and large intestine. After digestion, absorption takes place in small intestine. Unabsorbed food will enter into large intestine. You can understand that. So from ileum, the undigested food along with some water will reach cecum. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. If there is no sphincter, if there is no valve, continuously the food will flow. If the food is not moving slowly in the ileum, absorption rate will be less. That's why if there is any controlling point here, the food will start moving slowly in the ileum, absorption will be complete. So that's why in between ileum and cecum, we find one valve. This is not sphincter, that is valve. I told you, epiglottis yesterday. That is just like a lid. That is valve, valvular. So here, valve irutte valve in between the small intestine and large intestine. In between the small intestine and large intestine, valve. What will be the name of that valve? You tell me. What will be the name of the valve? Ileocecal valve. Where ileocecal valve is present? In between ileum and cecum. Otherwise, you can say that valve is present in between small intestine and large intestine. Okay? Deeply, if you think last part of small intestine is ileum, first part of large intestine is cecum. That's why ileocecal. Okay? What is the function of ileocecal valve? It will regulate the movement of food from small intestine into large intestine. Okay? Alright. ಈಗ large intestine ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ large intestine. See, I told you large intestine will appear very broad like this. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? This is cecum. Here, vermiform appendix. Small intestine joined here, right? This is the cecum. Cecum. Either this large intestine is traveling upwards. This is the direction. The food will start moving in this direction. Where this is moving, in which side? Right side of abdominal cavity. Okay? Right side of abdominal cavity. So it will start raising up towards thoracic region. That's why we can call this limb as ascending colon. Cecum illagide. This is the second part. Which is the second part? Colon. This is raising up. That's why this is called as ascending colon. You know what is ascending. Alright? After ascending up to some extent in abdominal cavity, it will take one turn. In which direction? Towards left. Okay, towards left. This is called as transverse colon. Illirutte below the stomach. Above the stomach irutte. Right? So this is transverse. This is ascending colon, transverse colon, transverse. And immediately after reaching towards the left, it will start moving down like this. This is called as descending colon. So colon is divided into three regions: ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon. Okay? Right. Descending colon will turn towards, again it will turn towards right. Like this. This area is called as sigmoid colon. Sigmoid colon. Sigmoid. Okay? This area. And this will start moving down. Like this. This area is called as rectum. Rectum. This one. Okay? ಏನೇನು ಈಗ ಸೀಕಮ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಸೀಕಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ symbiotic bacteria in some animals in our body no role and to that cecum vermiform appendix colon ascending transverse descending sigmoid it is continued as rectum rectum opens out in the form of anus okay now here you have to remember some points. If you see this large intestine, you can see bulb-like structures, foldings, constrictions like this. Note. This type of bulb-like structures are called as hastra. 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 What is the meaning of hastra? Bulb-like projections present on the surface of large intestine. At the same time, muscles irutte muscles, longitudinal. I am showing one line here. I am showing one line. This line is nothing but band of muscle present on the wall. Okay, this type of longitudinal bands of muscles can be seen. We call that bands. This is called as hastra, foldings. This band of muscles are called as. So these two terms you have to remember. And what is the function of large intestine? To absorb water, to form fecal matter. Whatever the undigested food, unwanted substances present in that food, it will become fecal matter. It must be ejected out. It is called as defecation, removal of, that is not excretion, that is defecation. And at the time of defecation, the anus, that is the aperture, it is guarded by two sphincters. Two sphincters. Anal, external, and internal sphincter. Two sphincters irutte. You have to remember, anal sphincters. These are anal sphincters. External sphincter is voluntary. Internal sphincter is involuntary. How you can remember? Innu barutte. Internal anal sphincter is involuntary. External anal sphincter is voluntary. Yage difference emantre internal it is involuntary because it is made of smooth muscle. External anal sphincter is voluntary because it is skeletal muscle. Okay, so that is about large intestine. Did you understand? If you have any doubts, please post and clarify.
In functions of the stomacal cavity, after mastication, it is called as bolus. Stomach, after partial digestion, it is called as chyme. The complete process I will tell you.
Okay. So just you revise that running notes. If you have any doubts, I will explain on Monday. Thank you.
But along with platelets, fibrinogen, prothrombin, the two substances platelets ఏం చేస్తుందంటే ఇప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ ఫేజ్ లో మీకు డీటెయిల్గా చెప్తారు